Breaking news! Welcome to today's segment of Science in the News. Today we are diving deep into the world of anti-aging interventions, and we have a fascinating story for you. Have you ever wondered if there's a secret to living longer while staying vibrant and healthy? Well, we're about to teach you all about calorie restriction. Now compare this with a high-calorie diet that floods your system with excess calories, leading to oxidative stress. Calorie restriction slows down the wear and tear that ages us prematurely. I will bring it over to Natalie, who will now tell us about the concept of oxidative damage.
Thank you, Nicholas. What is oxidative damage, and why do we care about it in relation to aging? Oxidative damage is driven by molecules called free radicals that are harmful byproducts of cell metabolism. These free radicals can damage all parts of the cell, including DNA, proteins, and mitochondria. Over time, oxidative damage builds up and can kill cells. However, our body naturally produces antioxidants, which you may have heard of before, which eliminates free radicals. In terms of aging, while scientists don't know the true cause, there is a well-supported hypothesis called the oxidative damage hypothesis of aging. This hypothesis states that the buildup of oxidative damage causes organisms to age. The idea is that if one can stimulate the body to overproduce antioxidants, then less free radicals will damage the body, slowing aging and increasing one's lifespan. Scientists have performed many promising studies that demonstrate that caloric restriction does just that. Now bringing it over to Charlotte to talk about our first study.
Thank you, Natalie. This 2019 study looked for changes in the brain chemical levels of calorically restricted younger mice because previous studies have been mainly focused on older mice. The paper ultimately determined that there were significant differences in the levels of some neurotransmitters, like glutamate, glycine, and serine, as well as other chemicals important for protecting the integrity of neurons. So the authors were able to conclude that caloric restriction does have neuroprotective effects on younger mice as well as older mice. Over to you, Estefania.
Thank you, Charlotte. In another caloric restriction discovery, the scientists conducted a study on male rats subjected to a caloric restriction from 8 to 19 months of age, compared to rats that were fed normally at 2 and 19 months of age. The caloric restriction group received 40% fewer calories. They were testing the hypothesis that caloric restriction would lead to a significant upregulation of antioxidant defenses and a reduction of oxidative damage in 4 brain regions of male rats, shown behind me, compared to normally fed rats. The results concluded from this study found that caloric restriction diet led to a significant decrease in oxidative damage and an increase in antioxidant defenses compared to age-matched normally fed rats. Now turning it over to Natalie for the next study.
Thanks, Estefania. In another caloric restriction study, this time performed on over 200 humans, it was found that the long-term caloric restriction reduces oxidative damage markers in humans. The study was performed over 2 years, where half the participants were instructed to reduce the calories that they consumed by 25%, while the other half were instructed to eat normally. Additionally, this study was performed on healthy, non-obese individuals. Scientists found that multiple oxidative stress markers in urine were significantly reduced in those in the caloric restriction group, the data shown behind me. Further, these results were also associated with improved insulin sensitivity, which reduces the risks of certain cancers. This is a promising result and one of the first of its kind that had clear, hard data demonstrating that caloric restriction reduces oxidative stress, specifically in humans, and could extend lifespan. However, while this data looks promising, I'll pass it over to Estefania to talk about the caveats of these 3 papers.
One caveat is related to gender differences. In the first study, only male mice were used, potentially limiting the generalizability of findings to females. Additionally, in the third study, 70% of participants were women. There may be gender-related differences in the levels of oxidative markers in urine that could have influenced the results. A second caveat is the importance of further research on caloric restriction and diet quality. Additionally, brain region-specific effects of caloric restriction on oxidative stress and antioxidant defenses. Bringing it over to Charlotte to wrap up the segment of Science in the News.
Thanks, Estefania. To sum everything up, there are several studies using both mice and humans that prove that caloric restriction can help to reduce oxidative stress and has also been shown to have some neuroprotective effects, which could mean it would help to reduce the risk of age-related neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. With that said, however, caloric restriction can also have negative impacts in the body if done incorrectly. So at this time, especially without more knowledge about the long-term effects of caloric restriction, we can only recommend that you limit your calories carefully and to a certain extent to ensure that your body still receives all the nutrients it needs to stay healthy. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Science in the News.